Welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana. Here we explore the practices and perspectives that help us live with more awareness, balance, harmony, and joy. Now, in today's episode, we are diving into a topic that is both deeply personal and profoundly transformative: sacred sexuality. Now, for some, sex is just a physical act, while for others, it's emotional. But what if I told you that it's also deeply spiritual and energetic? That sex can be a force that enlivens, energizes, and even heals. Yeah, sounds surprising, right? So, to help me unravel the answers to all these questions, I have my guest today for you, Satya Lila, who has spent over 30 years teaching sacred sexuality, helping women and couples enhance their intimate connection and tap into their divine, ecstatic bliss that is possible through this practice. And she has taught thousands through her workshops in the US and Japan, and her work has transformed lives. So, listeners, I'm really excited to have this conversation because sexuality is such a fundamental part of who we are. And yet, it's one of the most misunderstood and even suppressed aspects of our existence. So, with that, Satya, welcome to the show, and it is an honor to have you with us.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great, great. Satya, so let's start with the basic. You say that sex is sacred and more than just a physical act. So, if you can explain what you mean by that, and also what makes sex sacred in your perspective.
That's a great question. And I loved what you said in the introduction about how for some people it's physical and for some people it's emotional and for some it can be energetic and spiritual.
Yeah.
And it can actually be all of those things at once, too, in its highest form, I think. It's all three. And that's what my desire is to lead people into all of those. You don't have to give up the pleasure and the emotional connection in order to have a sacred sexual connection. It's all there. And the way it manifests is, first of all, it's an attitude towards sexuality that is a recognition of the powerful force that it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a force that can be channeled through your body. The energetics, the energy of sexuality can be used to transform or to awaken different parts of your body. Like you can direct the energy from your pelvis to your heart to open up your heart and love more. That's one example. You can direct the energy to the top of your head, and
Mm-hmm.
it opens into a connection with God or source energy or whatever you want to call that force that is bigger than us. It's so with a reverence of honoring that energy as sacred transforms the experience into that's the foundation of having a sexual encounter that is sacred is bringing that awareness, that consciousness to your connection with either your partner or with yourself. You can do these practices on your own or with a partner, either one, and they're both very profoundly transformative. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, s- uh, sex is a way of, I view it like as like a rocket fuel. You know, when a rocket takes off into outer space, there's this big flame that bursts and at the bottom of the rocket, and it propels the rocket up into the heavens. And it's very similar. The sexual energy is at the bottom of our bodies, in the pelvis. and it's fiery energy. And when we there are certain techniques of breathing and movement and visualization that help to, um, once that energy is awakened, start moving it up the spine so it contacts other energy centers along the spine and awakens and opens them. So,
Mhm.
that's kind of a overview, a general way of thinking and a perspective on it. I can get way more into detail, but that's a good place to start.
Absolutely. And that's really fascinating because what I think is so many people see sex as either something casual or just for you know um pleasure, but or as something heavy with societal or religious shame. But
Mhm.
as you say, it reframes it as something that can actually elevate us, enlighten us rather than diminish us. So
Yes.
before we even get to understand deeper, I think we really need to shift our mindset, have an open mindset. So how do we start shifting our mindset toward this sacred approach?
Well, what there it's there's two answers that come up for me with that. One is more fundamental, and that is working with the energies of sexual shame, which is very pervasive. We have um, shame leads to repression, that leads to obsession. Repression leads to obsession. So there's this weird, distorted, and warped kind of mentality around sexuality where it's a natural force. It's healthy and it's um, beautiful, and but because the shame gets overlaid on it, we try to repress it because we're not supposed to have those feelings. But repression really doesn't work very well, and it leads to obsession because you're obsessed because you can't express. So there's this vicious cycle that um, people get their energy gets flattened down and not allowed to move. And if it does move, then you feel bad about yourself, or there's it's just very twisted. Um, and the first step I've found in working with that is to become aware of how much sexual shame drives you. Like, one one example I noticed in myself, was, one time when I was getting dressed to teach a sacred sexuality workshop, and I had been teaching for probably 20 years at that point. I thought I had handled my sexual shame, but I noticed this process where I put on my clothes and I put on some yoga pants that were kind of thin fabric, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, "Oh, no, I need to put on some underwear so that you can't see the outline of my yoni." And, um, and then I thought, "There it is, sexual shame in action. I'm ashamed to, uh, to be seen as having genitals." That at that and that was enlightening to me that, um, you know, for me, it was less about feeling shameful as it was about being afraid I would receive other people's condemnation. Which is all tied up in the sexual shame too. So in that same workshop, I told that story, and the next day, this young woman came back. She was there with her partner, and she said, they were getting ready for bed, and this was like in the southern United States, where it was really, really hot. It was summer and it was incredibly hot. And she was putting on pajamas before getting into bed with her
Mhm.
partner. And she realized that sexual shame um, was directing that action. And so she decided to not put on the pajamas and just get into bed naked. And
Mhm.
they had a great time. Had a wonderful connection, and she was thanking me the next day for this transformation of her attitudes about it. And,
Mhm.
sometimes it's easy like that. Sometimes we've internalized it more deeply, and it takes more work. But always the beginning place is consciousness, awareness. Notice when you're making a decision or doing an action that is based on sexual shame. So, so that is um, one one really important part. And other ways that you can bring more sacredness into your sexual connection is to imagine your body as holy. Like a lot of times I like to do a thing where at the beginning of connection with my partner, I will raise my arms up and invite the goddess to enter my body, to use my body as a vehicle for showing this man how much the goddess loves him, how worthy he is of the goddess's love. And that's a very powerful image. That's a very powerful um it shifts um it shifts everything. It makes it into a holy act. And that's something that um most anybody can try at home and have an experience of um, allowing that energy to flow and move and expressing it as a worship.
Mm.
Um,
Mm. Wow. And that when you were mentioning your that the particular moment and how this woman got inspired, I think that was really, really, really empowering. Because sexuality is a really powerful form of self-expression.
mhm.
So thank you for sharing that, Satya. And also, um, since we talk about soul, uh, we are kind of an energy here. We have an energy with us, and then there is you talk about the energetics of sexuality. So I think a lot of people they might not be familiar with this concept. So can you explain how sexual energy works and why it is so important?
um, well, sexual energy is normally sleeping dormant in the pelvis most of the time. And we can awaken it through many practices, sexual activity, obviously, but also through dancing or breath work or intense meditation practices. And
Mhm.
it's kind of a fiery, hot energy. Um, and um, when you when you learn to breathe and relax and allow the energy to move through your body. It moves up the spine. There's a channel along the spinal column that carries the energy. It's the biggest channel in the body. It's probably 2 or 3 inches in diameter, and um, it there are other energy centers and energy pathways in the body. It's far more complex than I can get into on a brief podcast like this. But I've read that there are 72,000 pathways in the human body. And I think that that's true. I think sometimes I've felt like every single hair on my body was raising up like an inner, like little chill bumps, goosebumps, and that's the energy coming all the way to the skin and expressing itself. So it moves through the body when you breathe and when you stay relaxed. When you tighten down your muscles, the energy can't move through the tight muscles, so it stays localized in the pelvis, and it leads to what I call a peak orgasm, where it happens, builds really fast, it peaks, it drops down really fast, and you're done. And that is, in contrast, there is such a thing as a valley orgasm, or a full body orgasm, where you are relaxed and breathing and allowing the energy to spread out through your whole body. And it takes longer for the energy to build up because it's not that fast, um, intense, hard to manage sometimes, especially for men. But it's a slower build, but when you allow that slow build to happen, then, it builds up bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and when you do go into orgasmic energy, it's at a much higher level of pleasure, and it's a full body sense of pleasure, the whole body is in orgasmic energy, and one of my first spiritual teachers, a channeled entity named Dr. Peebles, he used to say that, um, orgasm is a glimpse of enlightenment. And when I heard that, I took some reasoning and decided that if I could widen that glimpse of enlightenment, I could get into enlightenment more quickly. So these practices of extending orgasm, this full body orgasm, is also can last for a long time. It can last for a half an hour or an hour. I've done that myself, and I've seen people do it, men and women. And it's the window to enlightenment opens wider, and it accelerates our spiritual awakening.
Mm. Wow. Wow. It's really, really interesting. Also, so there, I think so many people associate sexuality with a partner, but can this be a solo? I mean, sacred sexuality. Can this be a solo practice? I mean, can someone cultivate this energy and experience this level of connection on their own?
Oh, absolutely. It's a wonderful thing to do on your own. It's different. It's a different experience than doing it with a partner, but it's still incredibly powerful. And I it gives you like, um, when your sexual energy is flowing through these practices, it gives you this kind of flow through life, like, uh, walking down the sidewalk with your hips swaying and your skirts swaying, or just being in flow with the flow of the universe. There's synchronicities happen. You think of calling someone and they call you before you can pick it up, or the phone is in your hand, and or you think of someone you need to meet, and you go to the store and you run into them at the store. Even though they're in a different town, and you were late, you thought, but you were exactly on time to meet this person, or things like that happen regularly, for me, and I do solo practices as well as have a practice with my partner, because it's a different thing. The solo practice is about loving yourself. It's about taking care of yourself and honoring yourself, And it's and feeling yourself, feeling your energy without the distractions of another person and their energy. So it's a wonderful self-love practice. It's a way to start learning to love yourself even more deeply.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is such an empowering perspective.
Mm.
So often, sexuality is framed as something that exists only in the with relation to partnership. But what you said is it's just really about our own life force. Whether we share it with someone else or not. So
Yes.
before we wrap up, Sata, if our listeners would like to connect with you and explore more about sacred sexuality, solo sacred sexuality, how they can do that.
Yes, I have several possibilities. I On my website, satyalila.info. I'll spell that SATYALILA.info. There is a page called Free Stuff, and in on there, you there are several offerings that I have given you that are good ways to start. There are a couple of guided audio meditations that are designed to help a couple or a single person drop into a more sacred state of being. A single person can do it with a mirror, and a couple can do it with looking into each other's eyes themselves. And also on my website, I have an offering if you think uh, if you're really serious about getting into this and you know that you have challenges, this offering is for you. It's called the Sexual Communion Gateway Session, and in it, I will help you explore what challenges you have and create a vision for what you would like instead, and give you some recommendations for how you can get started. And this is free. It's given because I really believe in this work, and I won't try to talk you into doing more. It's not a big, heavy sales call. It's genuinely with a desire to be in service. And if it seems like more work would be useful, I will recommend that. But I don't always recommend it if I don't think I have something to offer somebody. So, and I also am starting a um, more basic spiritual group because the awakenings that happen with sexual energy um, land the best if you have some basic preparations of practices of meditation and breathing. And so I'm starting a group. It's called Delight, a journey into the shimmering emptiness. And so you can find information about that on my website as well. So go to the website and there's lots of resources there. That's the short story.
Lovely, lovely. We'll have all the details in the show notes, Satya. And thank you so much for such a beautiful and eye-opening conversation because I really loved how you bring such wisdom and depth to a topic that is so often misunderstood. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I've really appreciated your beautiful questions and the connection that we've enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Okay. And to everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. So do uh, connect with Satya, refer to the show notes along with this episode, and remember that your sexuality is a powerful part of your being. So embrace it, honor it, and explore it with mindfulness. Until next time, stay present, stay open, and keep living mindfully. Thank you.